The home screen is where you always start after unlocking your Tandem pump. It's also where you'll find your most frequently used information on insulin delivery and continuous glucose monitoring (CGM) data if you use one. In the upper left-hand corner is the battery indicator. It tells you the status of your pump's rechargeable battery. In the upper right corner is the insulin fill gauge, which shows how much insulin is available to use in the 300-unit cartridge. Insulin on board, or IOB, is the amount of insulin still active in your body from previous boluses. The bolus button takes you to the bolus calculator, where you can enter glucose and carbohydrate values to deliver a bolus. The options button takes you to all your insulin delivery settings, alerts, and alarms, and is where you go to start and stop insulin delivery. It also includes basic pump settings like time and date, settings for your CGM, and is where you go to set a temp rate and load a new cartridge. The Tandem logo is your shortcut. Tapping it will bring you back to the home screen from any other screen on the pump. For more information on insulin delivery, tap the icon to the left of the fill gauge to open the current status screen. Here, you can see which of your personal profiles is active, what your current basal rate is, the time and amount of your last bolus, your target BG, and your insulin duration settings. You can also access this screen without unlocking your pump first. For more detailed information about the interface or menus of your t:slim X2 insulin pump, consult your user guide or visit the support section of our website at tandemdiabetes.ca. This video is designed to help you get started with personal profiles on your t:slim X2 insulin pump. Personal profiles are where you program settings related to insulin delivery, such as basal rates, correction factors, insulin to carb ratios, and target BGs. Each of these settings can be adjusted for different times of the day, and you can name your profiles to easily identify which one you want to use. To access your personal profile settings, first tap Options. Next, tap My Pump. Tap Personal Profiles. Tap the plus icon to create a new profile. Using the on-screen keypad, enter a profile name, up to 16 characters, and tap the green checkmark icon. Tap Press to Set Up to begin setting insulin delivery settings. The first settings you enter always start at 12 a.m. Next to basal, tap Press to Set Up. Using the on-screen keypad, enter your basal rate and tap the blue checkmark icon. Next to correction factor, tap Press to Set Up. Using the on-screen keypad, enter your correction factor and tap the blue checkmark icon. Next to carb ratio, tap Press to Set Up. Using the on-screen keypad, enter your insulin to carbohydrate ratio and tap the blue checkmark icon. Next to target BG, tap Press to Set Up. Using the on-screen keypad, enter your target BG and tap the blue checkmark icon. Review all of the values you just entered and tap the green checkmark icon. To confirm your settings, tap the blue checkmark icon if your data is correct, or tap the X icon to make changes. If you need to add more time segments, tap the plus icon or tap the back arrow icon to program your bolus settings. When adding more time segments, any settings that you entered in the previous time segment are copied and appear in the new segment. This allows you to simply adjust only the specific settings you want, rather than having to enter them all over again. On the Add Segment screen, next to Start Time, tap Press to Set Up. Using the on-screen keypad, enter the time that you want the segment to begin, and tap the blue checkmark icon. Remember that this segment will be active from the start time until 12 a.m., or until the next segment you enter. When you have confirmed your settings and are done adding time segments, tap the back arrow icon to program your bolus settings. First, tap the Bolus Settings panel to get started. Next, tap Insulin Duration. Using the on-screen keypad, enter the desired time for the duration of insulin action and tap the blue checkmark icon. Next, tap Max Bolus. Using the on-screen keypad, enter the desired amount for your maximum bolus size, up to 12 units, and tap the blue checkmark icon. Next, tap the carbohydrate slider to turn carbs on, meaning the bolus calculator will use your carb ratio when calculating boluses. Now review all the values you entered and tap the green checkmark icon. The pump will then ask you to confirm your settings. Tap the blue checkmark icon to confirm or the X icon to make changes. When you have confirmed your settings, tap the Tandem logo to return to the home screen. If you need to add additional personal profiles, repeat the steps outlined in this video. You may also duplicate an existing personal profile, then select Edit to change only certain settings to create a new profile. For more information about using personal profiles, please consult your user guide. This video will walk you through the steps for delivering a bolus with your T-Slim X2 insulin pump, as well as extending all or part of that bolus over time if you want. From the home screen, tap Bolus to access the bolus screen. Tap 0 grams to enter the carbs for your bolus. Using the keypad, enter the desired carb value. Be sure grams is displayed above the keypad for food boluses. Tap the blue checkmark icon to continue. Please note that if you have an active continuous glucose monitoring session, your glucose value might be auto-populated. However, if there is no auto-population of your glucose value, simply tap Add BG to enter your blood glucose. Use the keypad to enter your glucose value. Be sure millimoles per liter is displayed above the keypad when entering BG values. If you enter a value that is below your target but equal to or above 3.9 millimoles per liter, you will be offered the option to reduce the bolus amount. To accept that reduction, tap the blue checkmark icon. Otherwise, tap the X icon. If you wish to change the bolus amount, tap the calculated units value. Otherwise, tap the blue checkmark icon to continue. Verify the dose and tap the blue checkmark icon to confirm. To go back, tap the X icon. Tap the blue checkmark icon to deliver the foods bolus immediately. To deliver a portion of the food bolus over time, tap the toggle next to Extended to activate that feature. Tap the blue checkmark icon to continue. Tap the blue checkmark icon to use the default settings, or tap Deliver Now and Duration to set your desired values for each one. Tap the blue checkmark icon to continue. Tap the blue checkmark icon to confirm. The delivery screen will confirm how much insulin will be delivered up front, how much will be delivered over time, and the delivery duration. Tap the blue checkmark icon to start the bolus. The bolus initiated screen will appear to confirm delivery has started. To cancel the undelivered portion of the bolus, tap the white X icon in the red square next to bolus on the home screen. Then tap to confirm the canceled bolus. We hope you found this video helpful. For more information, please consult your user guide or visit tandemdiabetes.ca.
Welcome! We're excited to show you how easy control can be using the T-Slim X2 insulin pump with Control-IQ technology from Tandem Diabetes Care. This video explains how Control-IQ works during usual day-to-day activities when you aren't using the sleep or exercise activity settings. To learn more about how to use the sleep and exercise activity settings, please watch our other videos. The goal of Control-IQ technology is to minimize the burden of managing your diabetes by automatically adjusting insulin delivery based on readings from your continuous glucose monitor, or CGM. Using readings from the Dexcom G6 CGM, Control-IQ technology predicts what your glucose will be in 30 minutes and adjusts insulin delivery accordingly. Treatment values are the CGM values that trigger Control-IQ technology to act in order to help increase time spent in the target range of 70 to 180 milligrams per deciliter. When your glucose is predicted to be between 112.5 milligrams per deciliter and 160 milligrams per deciliter 30 minutes in the future, your pump will deliver insulin at the rate determined by your active personal profile. During this time, you will see a gray diamond icon on the home screen, and the pump status icon will be a black B in a light blue square. When your glucose is predicted to be at or below 112.5 milligrams per deciliter 30 minutes in the future, Control-IQ technology will begin to decrease insulin delivery from your active personal profile rate to help to keep your glucose within the target range. While this is happening, the lower half of the diamond icon will become orange, and the pump status icon will also be orange. When Control-IQ technology predicts that your glucose will be below 70 milligrams per deciliter 30 minutes in the future, basal insulin delivery will be stopped. Bolus deliveries will continue, including any active extended bolus currently underway. You will also be able to start a new bolus even though basal delivery has been stopped. When Control-IQ technology has stopped your basal insulin delivery, the lower half of the diamond will become red, and the pump status icon will be a red 0. Additionally, you will see a red shaded area on the CGM trend graph, which lets you know that basal insulin was stopped during that time. Basal insulin delivery will resume once your glucose is predicted to be above 70 milligrams per deciliter 30 minutes in the future. When Control-IQ technology predicts that your glucose will be above 160 milligrams per deciliter 30 minutes in the future, basal insulin delivery will be increased. During this time, the upper half of the diamond icon will be blue, and the pump status icon will be a white B in a dark blue square. This icon is different from a personal profile rate, which is a black B in a light blue square. When Control-IQ technology predicts that your glucose value will be at or above 180 milligrams per deciliter 30 minutes in the future, and when Control-IQ technology is either increasing insulin delivery or delivering the max basal rate, the pump will deliver an automatic correction bolus to help return you to the target range. While Control-IQ technology is delivering an automatic correction bolus, you will see the icon of a white droplet in a blue square. Also note that when Control-IQ technology is delivering an automatic correction bolus, you will see a Control-IQ bolus displayed at the bottom of the screen. Thanks for watching this video and learning how easy control can be. Please visit tandemdiabetes.com/controliq to learn more about the t:slim X2 insulin pump with Control-IQ technology.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Pamilar. I am the Clinical Product Manager at Tandem Diabetes. I'm sad that we didn't get to meet in person, but thank you, Endo Society, for allowing us to meet virtually. And hopefully I can answer some of your questions. Just in the few video clips that we had some videos in the beginning to show what the pump looks like and interacting with the pump kind of on the patient side, and going into Control-IQ, which is our latest AID system, our advanced hybrid closed loop system. So hopefully you got a lot of information from that video as well. I am going to multitask a little bit with the Q&A. So I was answering some of the questions in the chat. I am looking on my phone, so I am not texting. And I wanted to go over some of those popular questions, or really questions that I get all the time. And one of them was, let me scroll back down. Let's see. There was a question about setting the target range or the treatment values, and if that is adjustable, customizable. And it is not. Those are set, so those parameters of 112.5 to 160, you can adjust that. That's how the algorithm works, and it predicts the glucose 30 minutes into the future. So taking that into consideration, those treatment values were well studied and was shown to be the most safe and effective for adjusting the basal insulin. And there's a video that I showed for Control-IQ, there is also a video very similar on sleep activity and exercise activity. Sleep activity is something that you could program when you're sleeping, either turning it on before you go to bed or setting a schedule for certain times that your sleep schedule. So if you usually sleep between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., you can program that so it turns on the sleep activity every day. With that, it narrows your treatment values, so you have tighter control overnight, and that's what we saw a lot in the real world studies as well as our pivotal trials. And so with that, you'll see 112.5 to 120 as your treatment value. And there's a video on that one. And then exercise as well. So we know exercise, we worry about hypoglycemia, and that is an option to turn on before exercise activity. And that changes those treatment values as well. And there's a video for that, and that's 140 to 160. It keeps you a little bit on the higher side to protect you from hypoglycemia. Let me see what other questions you guys have here. I got a question. Can you deliver an extended bolus in Control IQ? So yes, you can still deliver an extended bolus up to 2 hours. I have questions about Control IQ coming to Europe. And yes, we are global now. So we are going in phases to different countries. I believe, I lost count actually, but I believe we are at 11 plus countries. And we have gone to Europe. If you want to ask me specifically your country, I'd be happy to answer that in the chat. Let me see what else. Is Dexcom paired with the pump? I don't, and you don't have to enter the BG value. So just in case you missed it in that video, with Control IQ specifically, it auto-populates the glucose value from the Dexcom. So we are linked to Dexcom, you saw that, and it will just bring that value into the bolus calculator so that the user doesn't have to enter it in. And if you have, just kind of as a note, if you haven't yet, I would highly encourage you to download the T Simulator app, and that is for Apple and Android phones. And it will simulate on the app, it will look as if you're holding a pump in your hands, so you can actually navigate through the different menus as if you had the pump. So it will show you Control IQ functionality there as well. A question is closed loop coming with Tandem. So we call Control IQ our advanced closed loop algorithm. Advanced meaning that it gives auto correction bolus as well. So it does a basal modulation, and on top of that will give automatic correction boluses as needed up to every hour. And so this is our first iteration. It was licensed by Type 0, and being that this is our first iteration, it's going to continue from here. So hoping to improve the algorithm in the next iterations as well. Let me check and see if there's any other popular ones. I have a question about the maximum number of basal profiles. This is a great question. So we have the ability to have a program up to 6 personal profiles, and these personal profiles are could be for exercise, it could be for those run days specifically, or maybe game days if you have some younger children or in sports, hormones, steroids, time of the month, and all of that. You can have separate personal profiles for that. And what I love about Control IQ is that it uses your pump settings as a foundation for the algorithm. So if you had an exercise profile, it would use those as the starting settings, and then Control IQ would work on top of that and adjust accordingly. And I do want to make mention too, as I'm seeing some of the questions roll in, that Control IQ, I chose to highlight it because it's our newest AID system, and I wanted everyone to be familiar with it. We still do offer basal IQ. So we have basal IQ and Control IQ. You may know, the audience here may know that basal IQ is our predictive glucose suspend technology. So in that case, it predicts when you're predicted to go below 80, and then it stops basal insulin. So the algorithm we like to use at Tandem to make it easy to understand and digest is that basal IQ is like a light switch. It turns on and off as needed. And Control IQ is more of a dimmer. So it increases insulin, decreases the basal insulin, stops it if needed. And on top of that is the automatic correction boluses. Let's see. How long is insulin suspended for in case of a low BG? That's a great question. So it will predict 30 minutes into the future. So if it's predicted that you're going to be above 70 or above 80 in exercise activity in the next 30 minutes, it will resume insulin at that time. So it's always looking 30 minutes into the future. Do you have any learning games for children and learn how to use these devices? I bring up this question. I wanted to talk about it a little bit because we just received FDA approval for expanded indication for Control-IQ for 6 years and up. So that's exciting. We just found out that this week, and always something that we could consider, especially as we try to help children and families navigate through some of these AID systems that are just a little bit more involved. What's the minimum insulin units that can be in a pump, in the cartridge? And that's 95 units, up to 300 units. Great question that just came in with Control-IQ. If Control-IQ keeps you within target range, preventing hypo and hyperglycemia, what's the advantage of having a different target range during sleep mode? So with sleep activity, I did mention that the treatment values are a little bit more narrow, so 112.5 to 120, and then it will start adjusting. So if your settings on your pump, based on this question, if your settings on your pump, your basal settings, that being overnight, are programmed perfectly to what your insulin needs are, then you may not use sleep activity because you don't see the benefit of it, but it does keep you a little bit more safe. So with sleep activity, not only does it help keep you in that target range of 112.5 to 120, it also doesn't give you those automatic correction boluses. And some people just during sleep don't want to get those correction boluses. Let's say you ate and had a late snack or a bigger dinner, and your glucose values were rising overnight or in the evening time. You could potentially still get those automatic correction boluses up to every hour as needed, and so some people don't want that during sleep. And with sleep activity, you won't get those boluses, but with the normal function of Control-IQ, you will continue to get automatic correction boluses. So for clinical sites that don't have the ability to download the insulin pump data, where do you find information about how often patients pump suspended on low? So we use a T-Connect. Our data management system is called T-Connect. And if you don't have that, if you have Tandem in your country or your state, reach out to your rep in the local area to see if there's a way to get it installed in the clinic. If there's not, and there's an IT restriction, sometimes we're able to work around that. And I would say T-Connect by far, I work specifically on this team, being a clinician myself. And so I think it's important because you can actually get all the data. So we will have the pump data, Control-IQ and Basal-IQ, whatever system you're on, as well as layered on top of that data is a CGM data from Dexcom. So I think it's really important to kind of have, all of that data in one place in one report versus having to look at 20 different pages of reports. So if you don't have it, reach out to your local rep. We also do have the other third-party systems like Diasyn and Gluco. You're able to download the pump. I just I can't speak to what you're going to see and the features you'll see in the reports. You might be missing some that you would get with T-Connect. Let's see what else. It sounds like we have some international folks in this call. So you can go to tandemdiabetescare.com and then go to look for your country and see if we are available in your country. And if not, you can shoot us a message as well on that website. Could you please repeat again the simulator app? So if you have an Apple or Android phone and you go to your store, an app store, you can search T Simulator app and just download it there. It's free. And then if you don't find it, you can always search Tandem. You'll find it through one of those means. For a patient who needs more than 100 units of insulin per day, how do you set that? That is a great question as well. So for Control-IQ, in order to initiate the Control-IQ, you have to put inputs. And specifically, that would be 10 units to 100 units. If you are above that, it's considered off-label. So I can't speak to that directly. We've seen it anecdotally out there. We've heard about it, but it's not been studied yet, so we can't recommend it. We hope to hear more about that soon. Can it be worn swimming or with extreme sweating? So with that, it's IPX7. It's a rated IPX7, so that's 3 feet in the water for 30 minutes. I typically don't recommend you to swim with the pump. Usually you can just connect it from your infusion set on your body and set it aside. So most people that I talk to, or most people that I've trained in the past on the pump, haven't needed to have it on during swim. And typically you don't need as much of the insulin during that time as well. So is there any evidence with our technology helping to improve A1C? So I'd like to invite you guys to our webinar next week. Go to tandemdiabetescare.com and you can go to the provider site. And there, if you go under events or clinical evidence will have our most recent data that we presented at ADA this past weekend. Can't believe it's this past weekend. I'm losing track of days. So we have our first real world Control-IQ data from our early adopters of the system. We have that data on there, so highly encourage you to take a look at that. And then if you go on that provider website, we also have under clinical evidence, there's events. There's an events page, and you'll see webinars. And we have a webinar, and I'll be hosting that as well next week with Dr. Jordan Pinsker and Dr. Steph Habith from Tandem. And we'll talk a little bit more about Control-IQ, the data presented at ADA, as well as what you're going to see in clinical practice. You're going to get a lot of questions from patients. We get frequently asked questions all the time. And so this is kind of in response to kind of what Dr. Pinsker is seeing out there and how he is managing his patients on Control-IQ. So please register for that, and we will meet again. And I think I've answered most of the questions. Let me see. Can you use U500 with the pump? That is also considered off-label, so I can't speak to U500 on the pump. And with the Control-IQ algorithm, it works a little bit differently. So wouldn't recommend that. What is a low? Oh, and I think that is it. Thank you, everyone, and hope to see you guys next week.